So, a new study found that nearly 1 in 3 young men scored really high on something that researchers are calling the M factor. And no, it's not masculinity. This isn't about whether or not a man has traditional values, and it's not an issue that he's dominant. This is not boys will be boys. The M factor is actually a cluster of beliefs where male supremacy, misogyny, and contempt for sexual minorities, opposition to gender equality, dominance, and violence are all sitting in the damn same room. So when a woman says a man's belief scares them, maybe stop calling women dramatic, because this has been studied. This is the point. Misogyny isn't just an opinion, okay? People act like it's a preference. It is not just a man saying something annoying online or saying that he doesn't really like women. Misogyny literally shapes what a man believes that he is entitled to. It shapes whether or not he sees women as equal human beings. It shapes how he handles rejection, whether he feels threatened by women having autonomy. Oh no. It shapes how he responds when he doesn't get the control that he believes that he's entitled to. Now, according to the University of Zurich study, researchers found that these attitudes don't float around separately. They are very connected. Male supremacy, contempt for women, and opposition to equality, violence, control. All of this matters. Now, I'm going to break down what the M Factor study found, why it connects directly to abuse and domestic violence, and why this isn't just traditional masculinity, and why so many women just have got to stop minimizing men's beliefs when those beliefs tell you exactly how he sees your humanity. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach. I'm the author of 5 books, and I specialize in abusive men. On my channel, I help women exit abusive relationships with men, heal, and do the work so they never end up in relationships like this again. Now, the study itself is interesting because it named the pattern. A lot of studies are around 1,000 people. This study was more than 6,000 people in Switzerland. They studied people between the ages of 16 to 64, and they were studying masculinity, gender roles, sexuality, family life, relationships, and violence. And they identified what they call the M factor. This is a cluster of sort of dominance-based masculine beliefs, okay? Not one random man's bad opinion, not one edgy comment section. I'm talking, this is what men believe. This is a pattern. Now, it combines restrictive masculinity, male supremacy, misogyny, contempt for sexual minorities, opposition to gender equality, and a propensity for violence, which is interesting. And that's the point. These things are all linked, okay? They travel together, holding hands. And women have quite literally been saying this forever, but apparently we needed a university to say it so people could stop pretending it's just these silly women's opinions. Now, nearly 1 in 3 young men scored high. That number needs to make everybody sit up and pay attention. 20% of men surveyed scored high on the M factor. Among ages 18 to 24, it was nearly 1 in 3. 1 in 3, a third. Are we all clear? Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that every young man is dangerous, but it definitely means that too many are. What it means is a significant group of young men are holding dominance-based beliefs that researchers link with a higher risk of problematic or violent behavior. We act like violence just comes out of nowhere, right? It's always the nice guy that nobody expected it from except his wife or girlfriend, right? And that's a really serious thing, especially when these very men are dating, having sex, and in relationships. They're consuming Manosphere content. They are forming ideas about women. And what we all know, obviously, is that so many men who are following this type of content only dislike women more and only are more and more unhappy. It's a wild thing that they're not connecting, and it's baffling to me. These men are out here learning what they think relationships should look like. They are deciding what they believe their girlfriend owes them and what they believe their wives should tolerate. And let's even look at how these men walk into bedrooms and cars and marriages and custody disputes and text threads and first dates and arguments and home ownership. And they're bringing all of these beliefs with them. And this is why these beliefs are not harmless at all. People like to act like you can have a belief, but that's somehow different than your behavior. You can separate those things. As if a man can believe that women are beneath him and then somehow still treat women as equals, or that it's not a problem or not a very big problem that he doesn't see women as equals. Beliefs matter. And if a man believes that women are supposed to just naturally submit, that is going to affect what happens and how he feels, how he reacts outwardly when a woman says no. If a man believes that he should lead and that women should obey, then that is obviously going to affect how he handles a disagreement, especially with a woman. Because a woman disagreeing often, and men say this all the time in my comment sections, I don't have to study them. They say it themselves. When a woman disagrees with them, it is disrespectful of her to express that. And when a woman is disrespectful, too many men believe that violence is the natural consequence. You know, these men that believe that feminism ruined women, and not all feminists, just you modern feminists, as if every single wave of feminism wasn't called modern feminism and wasn't held to the fire by all of these angry men who can't stand the thought of a woman being equal. Obviously, this is going to affect how he sees your boundaries. Men like this, they see women as very manipulative, especially when women do this crazy thing like they cry, right? They see it as a manipulation. So, of course, how he sees your pain is not going to be in a very positive light. When you feel pain, he will automatically say, she's manipulative. And whenever I say that, there's men that go, yeah, but women are. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate you for being a comment for the class to all look at, real in person. There it is in every comment section of any video I've made on this topic. Too many men see men as victims of equality, right? So obviously he's going to respond negatively when you expect equal treatment because you're victimizing him by being an equal, because that's not the way it should be. Men are up here and women are down here, and how dare you not know your place? These are his operating instructions. Now, male supremacy shows up as relationship entitlement, and that's really interesting because I've done a lot of content on the concept of male entitlement. And it doesn't always sound like I hate women. We think that's what misogyny and male supremacy sounds like, but often it's just, I'm the man. You should respect me. You know, a wife should submit. Men need sex. Women are too emotional. Women are manipulative. You should be grateful. Women are so controlling. You're lucky I'm here. You're lucky I'm not treating you worse. So in a relationship, all of those views become entitlement, right? He's entitled to your time, your body. Oh God, it's an endless list. Your attention, your silence, your emotional labor, your domestic labor, your loyalty, your patience, your submission, your pain tolerance. Now, most of these guys are not outwardly going to say, I believe I'm superior, but they're behaving that way. Now, why they don't say it out loud is interesting because they know that it sounds bad. They know that people are not going to receive that well, so they lie, but they absolutely believe it. That's why when people tell you actions speak louder than words, you're damn right they do. A man like this will behave like your no is insulting to him. That's why your boundaries are disrespectful and your equality is oppression to him. That is male supremacy in a relationship. It's not always loud. Sometimes it is, but let's not pretend that covert abusers don't absolutely feel this way. Misogyny makes women's pain look really suspicious to a man like this. So when a man has contempt for women, he doesn't interpret your pain in a way that is fair, right? It's drama. Oh, here we go with the waterworks. Oh, let me guess, you're upset again. I can't do anything right. So when you say things like, I'm afraid of you, or he's screaming in your face and you're basically shaking in the corner, you're just being manipulative. You're not scared of me, right? He gets angry. And when you're angry, you're unstable and dramatic. And look at you, you're the abuser. You're so unstable. If you are exhausted and you want to ask him for help or participation, you're nagging him. If you shut him down sexually, especially when it's in response to the way he's treating you, you're withholding.
What, I have to be nice to you? Oh, so you're transactional. I have to be nice to you. I have to earn sex with my wife.
You see how angry these men get, right? If you're grieving over the loss of the husband you thought you had, the man you thought you were with, you're bitter. And if you have a memory of anything that has happened in your relationship, if you bring up the past, God forbid, you're exaggerating, you remember things wrong, he'll treat you horribly. That is why misogyny is so dangerous, right? It's not just he dislikes women. It literally makes this kind of man distrust women's humanity. He's listening to your experience. Men keep saying they don't listen to women. He hears you, but he's hearing you through contempt. So by the time you speak, he's already decided that your pain is fake and strategic and hormonal and exaggerated, and more specifically, unfair to him. How convenient, right? Very abusive friendly, which is kind of the point. Now, here's the thing that too many people minimize, men and women, but mostly men. Opposition to equality is a domestic violence issue, and violence against women is a men's issue. I know we always talk about it as a woman's issue because we are impacted by it, but men are impacted by this too. The study connects the M factor to opposition to gender equality. And I want to stop treating this like it's some harmless political opinion. This has nothing to do with politics. In relationships, opposition to equality means he doesn't believe that you should have equal power, equal say, freedom, rest, sexual agency, the right to leave. These are exactly the men that say we should bring back at-fault divorce, right? They want people, not you two, other people to be able to decide if you can divorce your husband or not, right? Women have to have a good enough reason, and you know who's going to be deciding if the reason is good enough or not? I wonder. He wants to. And if he wants to keep you under his control, he's never going to agree that there's a reason and enough. You'll say that he treats you badly. You'll say that he's abusive. He'll say you're making it up. So he wants the equal right to define what is happening to you. You're in a different reality than a man like this. This isn't different values. This is 10,000 times worse than that. Abuse is a power imbalance. And if he believes that equality is a threat to his power, your freedom is going to be received as disobedience to him. And then the control that he puts over you, that's completely justified. Now, one interesting thing, quite frankly, that a lot of these red pill incel men are talking about is that real masculinity is under threat. And a man who believes that is really giving us such a good warning sign, because one of the beliefs connected to the M factor idea is that true masculinity is under threat. But what is true masculinity? Power, control, and dominance. Superiority above women. I want you to watch men who talk like this. Like, watch the panic, watch the resentment, watch how quickly women's rights are framed as men's loss. Women have choices, but that means that men have to be marginalized in their mind. Women saying no is an example of men's oppression. Women earning money has been very problematic because suddenly men are feeling useless. And when women leave these bad relationships, it becomes this family breakdown. And then men say that men sacrifice their happiness for their families, which is absolute trash, and that women sacrifice their families for their own happiness. And honestly, there's a lot to unpack there, and I've made content on that. But in summary, there's two parts that's wrong with that whole phrase. The first is that women don't deserve to be happy, right? She is sacrificing her family for her own happiness. She doesn't deserve to be happy. How dare she be happy? It's framed like it's at the expense of her family. And yet, women who are leaving these relationships are in unhappy marriages and relationships. And so leaving would be better for the whole family, as a man who's unhappy should also leave. It's this sort of tolerable misery of so many men to sort of wear this, I'm miserable and I stay, like a badge of honor, when actually you're a moron. Staying in a bad relationship when you can leave is insane. And I'm not talking to women who are quite literally struggling to leave abusive relationships. I'm talking about, if you're so unhappy, Kevin, head out the door. I don't get it. But framing women's happiness like it's something they don't deserve is wild. And acting like it's not absolutely in the best interest of the family to not be miserable, that's also wild. Women naming abuse becomes a war on men. My channel in particular is a perfect example. While I choose to speak about the abusive men and what they do to women, it's not that the reverse never exists, but it's not a globally recognized epidemic of violence, where it is when it comes to women. And so when I talk about the things that men do, when I take comments that men have said out loud and I don't paraphrase them, I just bring them to light, I'm told that I'm a misandrist and that I'm a man-hater and I'm launching a gender war, when all I'm doing is saying what men do out loud in real life. But this is because I'm evening things, and they experience that equality as humiliation and as man-hate because they don't want women to have voices. They don't want women to know these things and to learn these things. They want the younger generations especially to not know, because that's why men always want younger women, because they don't have the lived experience yet to really understand what happens to women when they give up everything to serve a man. And that's why men say things like, who hurt you? And, oh, you're bitter and you're going to die alone and you have cats and all of these things, which all of those things would be better than being abused. But the truth is, not all men are like that. And that's why so many women are either choosing to be single or just choosing to be with the men who don't feel this way. Now, I want to connect all of this back to sexual coercion. It's been a little hot topic for me lately, which is actually a terrible thing because talking about sexual coercion brings out the worst types of men. But this study pairs really well with the concept of sexual coercion, particularly in relationships, because if a man believes that women owe men sex, then he believes he can just take it from her. He can coerce her. If he believes that male desire is literally more important than female comfort or female safety, he can do whatever he wants, right? Rejection is disrespect. And a woman's body is literally part of the deal. And it's interesting because men can't really dispute this, right? They say it in the comments. Of course, it's part of the deal. Why on earth would a man get married if sex wasn't on the table? But they're also using a straw man because there's no video of me out there that's going to say that men or women should be in a relationship and there's just no sex. If sex was on the table at the beginning of the relationship, I can appreciate that it's an expectation, it's assumed that it will be something you do forever. However, where men seem to willfully miss the point is that they don't care about treating the woman well. They just care about getting the sex from her. It's something that she has that he gets from her. So when he's coercing her, it makes sense because it's his. He's supposed to have it. Something's wrong with her for not just blindly giving it to him. Treating her nice, since when was that part of the deal? Even though he was undoubtedly nice to her in the beginning, it's always framed as she changed, something's wrong with her. And so many women take that on and start Googling things and, what's wrong with my libido? And they feel like they're failing themselves, failing their husbands. And we're not talking about what men are doing to kill their own bedrooms. Men like this, they see themselves really as like a man being denied what he deserves. And that belief is the danger. Because once her no is an obstacle and it's not a boundary, he's just going to look for all these little ways around it by pressuring her and sulking and threats and men have needs and it's your duty and all that shit that they say. Now, here's where the study gets really interesting because it gets linked to violence. The researchers linked high M factor scores with greater risk of problematic or violent behavior. They also discussed intimate partner violence because you can't really separate those things. And that matters because misogyny and violence are not like strangers passing by each other in a hallway or a dark alley. They're besties, okay? They go to dinner, they split the check. They're together. You can't have one without the other. People always like, oh, is my husband a misogynist? If he's abusing you, yes, undoubtedly, 100%. A man who believes that dominance is masculinity is way more likely to see control as normal, right? If he believes in male supremacy and that's natural to him, then he's going to see female resistance to that as a problem. This makes sense, right? Violence doesn't come out of left field. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It grows inside beliefs that make women smaller before they even raise their hand or their voice. And none of this is the same as healthy masculinity, right? Strong masculinity is not the problem. That's not it at all. And they act like that, right? They want men to be weak little girls. They want men to be gay. No, simmer down. Strong masculinity isn't the problem. Protective masculinity isn't the problem. Responsible masculinity, none of it. Men having identity and purpose and strength and leadership, discipline, all of that, none of that's the problem. It's dominance as identity, right? We have to control a woman to be proving your manhood to other men, which is probably a whole other topic in and of itself, right? Because a lot of these men are doing all of this for the male gaze. But let's not get sidetracked, right? Sexual access for a man is validation. Female submission, that's order. That's the natural order. So a safe man doesn't need to do any of this. He doesn't need to make a woman feel smaller. But a dangerous man is going to call your equality disrespect. Now, the Manosphere did not invent any of this, but it feeds it, right? It didn't create the patriarchy. That was a long, long time ago. But let's not give them that much credit, okay? Because tiny microphones and giant audacity doesn't mean a damn thing. It tells men that women are the enemy. It tells them that feminism stole something from them, that women are hypergamous, that they're manipulative, that they owe men their youth, beauty, sex, submission, adoration, and submission, that women need to be put back in their place. And that content gives language to the entitlement that they're already feeling, right? And then women meet those beliefs in real life on dates, in bedrooms, in marriages, in custody battles, and I meet them in comment sections, which is absolutely brutal, right? Now, what women really need to watch out for is listening to what a man believes before you get attached. Don't tell him your views, ask him his views. Watch how he talks about feminism, how he talks about his ex, how he talks about single mothers, about women who leave, who get divorced, about sexual rejection, about the LGBTQIA community. Watch how he talks about respect, what he thinks women owe men. You can't just sit him down and pepper him with all these questions. It has to be sort of in conversation over time, which is why when you're dating someone, you got to slow it down. But if you're already in a relationship with a man like this and you don't know his views on these things, sprinkle some of these topics in and watch what you learn, because his answers are a preview. Now, a lot of women get confused because culture helps men rename all of these things and talk about control as leadership as perfect example, right? When a man is being controlling, if we call that leadership, that doesn't sound so bad, right? He has preferences. It's like he only likes skinny chicks that are under 25. That's just a preference, but he's not actually going to see that as misogyny, but I do. When he feels entitled to sex, he's just going to call it needs. Coercion as marital duty, all of it, right? Dominance as masculinity. You can make these comparisons all day. And this is why women doubt themselves, because they feel the threat, but everybody is giving it a softer name. He's just insecure. He's just protective. Honestly, men just need respect. He's a man's man. Oh, he has traditional values. Yeah, okay. Or he believes that women should have less power than men. Do you believe that too, Kathy? My God, right? So when we say that misogyny is dangerous, this is what we mean. And it's why when men are like, misandry is bad and misogyny is bad, misandry is a joke in comparison. Misandry is men feeling bad. This is misandry. Me talking about what men do is apparently misandry. Misogyny gets women killed and sexually assaulted and harmed and abused. It's the reason that there's an epidemic of violence against women. Masculine men who have traditional man hobbies like fishing or hunting or whatever else, cars, wanting purpose, liking masculinity, or having traditional personal choices between two consenting people, whatever. It's not that. And when we let these men straw man us into thinking that that's what it is, we're letting them change the frame. That's not what this is about. What we're talking about is a belief system where male entitlement, contempt for women, dominance, and violence sit together on a shelf. The University of Zurich study gave that cluster a name, the M factor, and women have been recognizing that pattern without the label for I don't know how long. The contempt and superiority, the entitlement, the anger when you say no. So you're not dramatic for being scared of a man's belief system, because that's the very thing that you should be afraid of. So when a woman says, something about his beliefs scares me, or something about the way he talks makes me nervous, maybe believe her before those beliefs become a police report, or a custody battle, or a trauma bond, or an abusive relationship, or decades of her life trying to explain why his dominance felt like danger. Subscribe if you're not already, and if you're trying to understand the beliefs beneath abuse and coercive control and sexual entitlement and trauma bonds, and frankly, why a man's worldview can make you feel unsafe before he raises his hand or his voice. You can work with me in one-on-one sessions. You can join my trauma bond recovery group coaching programs, or you can join She Rises Collective, which is my online survivor community that I co-host with a licensed therapist. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.